Something that Simon said at the top of this conference that really resonated with me, to paraphrase, I'm probably going to screw it up, is we're not looking at implementing digital twins here. We're looking at a methodology for implementing digital twins. And that little set off a little light bulb in my mind. I was like, oh yeah, that's what we've been doing this whole time. So there's parts of Highways England that are really doing the storming in the digital twins world, particularly in the smart motorway space. They're going off, pushing the boundaries, doing really clever stuff. I think what the focus that I'm trying to bring to this space is, how do we do the norming and the conforming? How do we make sure that the whole organization can benefit from ontologies and digital twins, not just the people that are at the frontiers of what's possible? And that means using them to address kind of real value-added problems within the business. So if you jump to the next slide, please, Liz. You know, the problem statements is pretty prosaic. It's we don't have a common accessible model of our data. We don't have common meaning. That means that we create inconsistent and non-machine readable specs for our suppliers and for our staff. And that ultimately means that we struggle to exchange data quickly and effectively. And whilst these problems aren't unique to ontologies or digital twins, I think ontologies have a role to play in fixing these problems. And similarly, if we can't fix these problems, then our digital twins aren't going to be so great, frankly. So if we jump to the next slide, kind of our perspective that I have in terms of how do ontologies fit into this is to exist as the schema layer for what we're trying to accomplish as a business, and ultimately something that informs a common data environment on which we can build our digital twins. So the focus that Highways England brings to this, I think our core competency is not in the academic, how do we make sure that we have a philosophically sound ontology? I'm going to leave that one to our learned colleagues and just follow their guidance. It's about how do we then embed that and implement that in actually building things and changing how the strategic road network operates. So this extremely high level view is kind of the end state that we're trying to get to in terms of a system that works with digital twins, with exchanging information with others, which is built on ontological reasoning. If we jump to the next slide, this is kind of how we see this tying into some of the very real and tangible things that we do as a business. It's way too much detail to put on a slide and then talk through it in 30 seconds, so apologies for that, but at a very high level, you know, the ontology sits as the conceptual model for the organization. It then needs to be tied into logical and physical models and ultimately APIs and interface specifications that govern how we exchange our data. It sits as the Rosetta Stone that allows us to make sure all of those things are done in coherence with a common language and a common way of working. And it means that when we use our logical and physical models to generate, you know, real, like tangible documents like work breakdown structures and exchange of information requirements as we build our, you know, multi-billion-pound road projects, that we're rooting that in a common data language and rooting that in something that can ultimately be scaled up through graph databases and the like to something resembling a digital twin. So if we jump onto the last slide, this is what we're investing in the ontological space at the moment. We've built a very high level ontology in Prodigy, and I think the gap that's missing for us at the moment is the ability to visualize and query that easily and effectively. I know we're not the only people that have encountered this problem. Some people have told us it's actually a relatively difficult problem to fix, but we're going to have a crack at it. You can see on the bottom left corner there is a bit of work that we put out onto the DOS framework recently that we're going to start working on in the next few months. And really that's about fleshing out, how do we take the OWL, how do we take the Prodigy ontology that we have at the moment and use modern web technologies to make it searchable, to make it easy for lay persons to understand and visualize, and to really create it as a tool that allows us to review and continue to expand our common data language rather than as a kind of standalone, slightly esoteric view of data. We need this to be something that's meaningful to all of Highways England and indeed the sector, not just a few data professionals. And that's it, it's the pitch. Thank you for having me.